What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're having a look at some more entitled parent stories. You can't drive without a license. I work for a rental car company in the airport. As any rental company does, we have a number of requirements in order to rent a car. You have to be a certain age, pay with a credit card in your name, and put down a deposit. One of the requirements I think is pretty self-explanatory is that you need a valid driver's license. Anyway, an entitled mother walks up carrying a 2 or 3-year-old and doesn't have a reservation. Not a big deal. I grab her some keys, get her a quote. She says everything sounds good. I ask for her license and start entering her information. The license expired in March of 2018, like a year and a half ago. I told her I needed her new license and she said that was the only one she had. I told her that because it was expired, I couldn't rent it to her. She immediately got angry, insisted she was a safe driver, said she didn't know she needed to renew her license, asked if I could make an exception. I told her there was absolutely no way I could make an exception on having a valid license. She then literally shrieked, "But I have a baby!" and asked what I expected her to do. I told her I'd recommend taking an Uber and renewing her license. She, still shouting, went, "You expect me to Uber with my baby?" I told her yes. She guaranteed me that some other rental company in the building would give her a car. I wished her the best of luck. I heard the same scream about her baby 6 additional times as she tried every counter in the building. Okay, come on, it's gotta be common sense to know you have to have a license to rent a car, what? But then again, I guess this entire subreddit is dedicated to parents with no common sense whatsoever. Like, fair enough, if your license had expired the day before, week before, even month before, I would understand, but a year and a half ago? Come on, that's just illegal. I really hope this lady hasn't been driving her own car, because that is very dangerous to not have a license. Now for our second story. My aunt got screwed over after making our vacation a competition. Sorry if this post doesn't follow the normal conventions of an entitled parents post. I really only watch videos about the subreddit, so I don't really know the basics of how posts are set up. Well, good to know you watch videos. I approve of this. So a while ago, my mum, aunt, cousin, and I all went on a vacation to Disney World. We live pretty dang north of Florida, so of course we took a plane. My mum and I both already knew that my aunt was kind of a butt, so we knew the next weekish was going to be at least a little headache inducing. We got off the plane, and as soon as we got to our hotel, my aunt started complaining. There wasn't enough room, the beds didn't feel good, we were too far of a walk from the entrance, anything and everything was an annoyance to her. We wanted to get out of the room, so we got in a convertible we rented, and my aunt was jumping to drive it, so we let her. At the theme park, we like to just chill out in the shops, and because we were already in shops, we would do some shopping. It started pretty tame. My mum and I broke off from my aunt and my cousin to just get away from them for a while. But we noticed something very specific every time we found something we liked. If we said anything along the lines of, "Ooh, this looks cute," my aunt and cousin would be there in seconds and buy it for themselves. No hesitation, no second thoughts. We'd say it and they would buy it, and they had to have it first. We were kind of like awkward face about it at first, but it got pretty amusing over time, so we tried doing it with things we didn't even like. Stupid gimmicky t-shirts, they'd buy them. Trashy plastic toys, they'd buy them. Normal butt jeans, they'd buy them. It started getting a little difficult though. Some items we liked were just about to be sold out, so we had to be quiet about it if we liked them or not, so they wouldn't sweep in and take them before we could. The same thing happened with rides too. All they did was cut us off to be on the rides first. There was a point where I was feeling super nauseous. All I wanted to do was go back to the hotel to cool off for a bit, but my cousin wanted to ride more roller coasters. My mum was gone doing something else, so my aunt told my cousin that I would go on rides with her. I told her that I was feeling too sick to ride anything else, but my cousin started fake crying. My aunt started getting mad at me for not going on rides with her daughter, and I was getting angry that they wouldn't let me go back to the hotel. We argued about it for a bit, but I ended up getting on the ride with my cousin. We got off the ride, my cousin said that she didn't even enjoy the ride, and I ended up throwing up. My aunt got mad at me for throwing up. I told her that I didn't even want to ride it in the first place, and we ended up saying barely 2 words to each other for the rest of the day. A day or two after after, we went to a store selling Lilo and Stitch merch. My mum and I saw a massive stuffed animal of Stitch. It was the last one they had, and we said something like, "Oh, whoa, look at that Stitch, that's cool." Guess who bought it? My aunt. We weren't upset they got it though. We weren't gonna buy a massive stuffed animal. I don't even know where we could put it in our house, so the day continued like normal. They lugged that massive thing around all day, scuffed it up from dragging it on the ground, and almost lost it once. We went back to the hotel room and my aunt drove again. As every day passed, the same thing would happen. There's no point in going into the nitty-gritty about it. I think you guys get it. It was the last day of our vacation. My mum and I didn't get to drive the convertible once because my aunt was always bouncing off the walls to get in it first. We packed up our stuff and went to the airport to leave Florida. But before we could actually go home, my aunt realized that some of the clothes and the massive Stitch stuffed animal she bought were too big to fit in her suitcase and too big to be a carry-on, so they had to leave them in Florida. My cousin was pretty upset that she couldn't bring it with her. She cried and cried and cried, but I felt nothing but the meanest happiness. They spent all that time trying to be first. It was always me, but it backfired because they couldn't even bring all the trash they bought back home with them. And that's all I heard about for nearly the entire plane ride home. Kids, be responsible with your money. This. The saddest part about this is that your entitled aunt and their kid are too stupid to realize that hotels and gift shops will actually ship things home for you. I don't know if you guys know this, but from places like Disney World, places like that, they can actually just ship stuff for you home so you don't have to carry it. Like, they can also just hold it in their shop until closing so you don't have to carry around a massive Stitch with you the entire day. Let me know down below if you guys know about that. I feel like that may not be common knowledge, but yeah, if only these entitled people knew. But don't let that detract away from the main fact that what they are doing is just so horrible throughout this entire story. And also just so pointless. Like, why are you just wasting money on things you don't want just to annoy other people? I don't get it. Especially the fact that they are your family. Like, what? I just don't understand these people, man. Next time you see your aunt, you should say, "Oh, I really like the national debt of the United States. It's so cute." I mean, surely that would just fix the entire economy right there. Moving on to our final story, never say happy holidays to a Karen. This happened yesterday when I was working Christmas Eve at my retail job. I had already worked a full shift and was staying a little bit longer since someone had no called, no showed. I had maybe about 2 hours left before I could go home when an entitled mum showed up in my line. This particular entitled mother is infamous at our store and everyone tries to avoid her as much as possible, since she's a crusading type of mum who makes sure you know exactly what she stands for because she's going to go out of her way to tell you. And God help you if you're one hair out of line when it comes to her ideals. I guess today her cause was mental health. Anyway, she gets up to me finally, and of course she has a million different questions about various items that I just don't have the answer to. She then wants to do price matching on like 80% of our items, and the other 20% she wants to know the prices. As if that wasn't bad enough, she's got her daughter with her and wants her girl to pay separately from her. I waste about 5 to 10 minutes dealing with her and her BS, with the other people in line starting to yell at me to hurry up. Finally, I get her and her daughter through the line without too many issues. Just when I think I'm done with her and her daughter, I make the mistake of saying happy holidays as I hand her bags to her. I start ringing out the next customer and I notice she's still kind of skulking about. About halfway through me getting through the next person in line, the entitled mum comes behind the counter, stands right next to me and has a conversation. "Hi, sorry, I don't mean to bother you and I know you don't mean anything by it, but you really shouldn't be saying happy holidays. There's just people with depression and other conditions that you could trigger with language like that since they feel like they have to be happy." Okay, can you please step away from my area here? I was super irritated and my tone definitely reflected that. You can drop the attitude, honey. You're the one out here endangering people by saying things like that, and right now you're being very rude. Okay, please step back. At this point, the customer I had been ringing up is getting angry and starts yelling at me for getting distracted, which was fair. I go back to ringing her out, with the entitled mum deciding that she's going to step even closer, standing less than an inch away from me and continuing to try to have my undivided attention, and I had finally had enough. Stand the F back. Things proceeded to devolve from there. Her daughter starts crying, like that obnoxiously loud kind of crying. The entitled mum is yelling, my new customer is yelling that she's not moving through the line, the whole thing is a mess. Security eventually comes and gets the entitled mum away from me, and a few minutes after that, my manager pulls me off the floor and someone else takes my place at the register. To make a long story short, my manager wants me to apologize to the entitled mum. I told him I wouldn't, and he ended up sending me home about an hour early as a result. I don't know if I'm fired or not, but so far I'm still on the schedule for tomorrow, so hopefully the worst I have waiting for me when I come in is a stern talking to. Wow, well, what a story. To be honest, if you get fired, that is absolutely ludicrous. Why do you have to apologize to her? This is what I absolutely hate about customer service. If someone is so horrible to you, you shouldn't have to apologize. I get it, they're the customer and all that rubbish, but come on. Now, OP has actually provided us with an update. Didn't get fired, oh that's great news. But got written up, told my behavior was unacceptable, and if it happens again, I'm fired, etc. Okay. Getting transferred to a new department at the store and starting my new training in the section today. That does not sound that good. I guess it is true, the customer does always come first. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for this episode of our /Entitled Parents. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, like the video, comment your opinions down below and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want some more content from me, click the video on screen right away. I promise you will not regret it. It's such a good one. With that being said, I will see you guys all tomorrow with 2 brand new videos on the channel.